Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Najiha binti Bakri. My matric number is 11818338. Right. Okay. Right now I want to talk about domicile of choice. Okay. Right. Nowadays there are many cases involved with marriage between two people from another country, from different countries. People have second home in another country or properties or investment and more. And this usually occurs due to the fact that people can change their domicile. Alright, what is domicile? Okay, according to the law, according to Merriam-Webster Law Dictionary, domiciles mean or it can be defined as a person's official permanent of a person's fixed, permanent and principal home for legal purposes. A person's domicile is very important. Why is it very important? Because and it is important for the purpose of determining the individual liabilities in three main areas, which is income tax, investment, and employment. However, in Malaysia, domiciles becomes important when it is involving the case of divorce related to a Malaysian marrying another citizen from another country, and it is not in Malaysia. Okay. Alright. Next, there are several types of domicile. Okay. Which is we have domicile of origin, domicile of choice, domicile of dependence, and domicile of matrimonial. What does it mean? Right. I will explain one by one. Okay. First, domicile of origin. Alright. Everyone obtain domicile of origin at their birth. When we are born in this world, our domicile of origin follows to our parents' domicile of origins, which means that if my parents is a Malaysian, then I will follow their domicile of origin, which is I am a Malaysian. My domicile of origin is Malaysia. Okay. However, um, if I am born out of wedlock, if someone's born out of wedlock, their domicile of origin will follow their mother's domicile of origin. And if someone is born in wedlock, in wedlock, okay, their domicile of origin will follow their father's domicile of origin. Okay, got it? Alright, next is right. Next is domicile of choice. Right. When an individual reach the age of majority act, which is 18, that individual can change their domicile, or we can acquire domicile of choice, which is we can have domicile from another country. For example, I want to have my domicile. I want to work in United Kingdom when I am 22. Let's say when I'm 22, I want to work in United Kingdom, and I want to stay in United Kingdom and don't want to return to Malaysia. So I can acquire domicile in United Kingdom. As I say, we have choice on our domicile. And where we want our domicile to be. We have choice, okay? Um, Next is domicile of dependence. Alright, this can be determined in three categories. Yep, three category. First, the children's category. Second is the women's category, and lastly, the adopted category. Alright, for the first category, which is the children's category, it depends on. it can be seen. It can be seen that the domicile of the children will be the same as their parents. If same like domicile of origin, where the domicile where what from whose domicile that the child follow will be determined on if the child is born in a wedlock or out of the wedlock, which means that if the child is born out of wedlock, his domicile will be following his mother's domicile. And if the children is born in a wedlock, his domicile will be following his father's domicile. Right? Next, for the category of wife, the domicile will be following their husbands. And additional information, if you are a woman and you have reached the majority age, you can apply or acquire for domicile of choice. Alright, okay, back to the woman, or wife category. Okay, their domicile, wife will follow their husband's domicile until when their marriage is dissolved, which means divorce, and it will return to their origin domicile. Okay, alright. And lastly, the domicile of an adopted. Alright. The domicile of adopted will be following their foster's domicile or their adoptive parents. And if their adoptive parents are married lawfully, then the child domicile will follow his adoptive father's domicile. Okay, right, that's for types of domicile. And now I want to discuss on whether uh, whether Malaysia has the jurisdiction. Malaysia's court has the jurisdiction to try a case involving domicile. As you know, there are a lot of cases where people got married with another citizen and then they want to divorce, and they want it to be held in Malaysia court. Now, the question is whether Malaysia court has the jurisdiction to entertain this petition of divorce. Right. Okay. So right now I want to to answer this question whether our court has the jurisdiction. I would like to tell you a little bit of our law involving Law Reform Marriage and Divorce Act 1976. Okay, in Malaysia there are several sections in the Law Reform Marriage and Divorce Act 1976. 1976, which constitutes domiciles. Alright? For example, the Law Reform Act 1976 under Section 3 stated in Section 3 Clause 1, except as is otherwise expressly provided, this act shall apply to all persons in Malaysia and to all persons domiciled in Malaysia but are resident outside Malaysia, which means that this law, this Law of Reform Act 1976 can be its application are for people who live in Malaysia and Malaysian who lives outside Malaysia. Cities, which means that people from Malaysia who lives outside Malaysia, and the people must be a citizen, must be his or her domicile of origin is Malaysia. Okay. Alright. For clause 2, however, in obtaining the application of this law, according to Section 3, Clause 2, for the purpose of this Act, a person who is a citizen of Malaysia shall be deemed until the contrary is proved to be domiciled in Malaysia, which means that any individual that want to apply this law, they must prove that their domicile of origin is in Malaysia. Or for some case, people there are also for some case of domicile of choice in Malaysia, people that acquired domicile of choice in Malaysia. Alright. For example, as an example, there this case of James Sloan versus Sarala Davis Sloan. Okay. Alright. In this case, James Sloan, the petitioner, and Davis Sarala, the wives of the petitioner, which is the respondent. Okay. The James, he is from, his origin domicile is from United Kingdom, and then he came to Malaysia to seek for work. Okay, and he got a job in Malaysia, a permanent job in Malaysia, and then he got married to Sarala, a Malaysian girl. Yeah, he got married to a Malaysian girl, and then in it was in 2004 when they get married, when they got married, and however in 2009, June want to file a petition for divorce in Malaysia High Court, under in the family division of the High Court of Malaysia. And in this case, the wife of the petitioner issued that the petitioner has no right to file the petition in Malaysia's High Court, and submitted that the petitioner had the burden of proving the abandonment of the petitioner's domicile of origin and acquisition domicile of choice in Malaysia, which means that he had not yet he had difficulties on proving that he had leave his domicile of origin in UK. And right, okay, and the respondent also argued argued that the petitioner has another apartment, not in Malaysia but in another country. So the petitioner had not completely relinquished his domicile of origin, the UK. However, the petitioner averred on averred on oath that he intends to retain Malaysia, which means that the petitioner joined oath that he want to stay in Malaysia forever, and he wants to change his domicile of choice in Malaysia, as he has a permanent job, he has become knowledgeable, accustomed and inured with the way of life in Malaysia, and has no intention of leaving Malaysia unless the law force him to leave Malaysia. And the petitioner argued that his his citizenship nationality had no relevance to the determination of his domicile of choice, which means that it has no relation with his choice of acquiring Malaysia as his domicile of choice. Okay, alright, and the court held that dismissing the application with cause, firstly, the domicile of pardon me, firstly, the domicile origin of the petitioner is the UK, and the standard of proof to displace the domicile of origin in favor the domicile of choice goes beyond a mere balance of probabilities. The facts that the averments on oath by the petitioner had changed his domicile. This was also decided by referring to the Henderson versus Henderson case, which means that when he took the oath of he want to change his domicile of choice to Malaysia, then he succeeded. So his domicile of choice is Malaysia. Yeah. Alright. Next one, second is the court also held that the fact that the petitioner did not denounce or relinquish his British citizenship was not material or relevant. The concept of nationality and the issue of domicile are two totally different and separate concepts which deserve different and separate treatment. Hence, the petitioner did not need to divest his nationality to show that he has acquired a domicile of choice. And lastly, the court held that both the petitioner and the respondent were domiciled in Malaysia, where the said petition was presented, and the court has the jurisdiction pursuant to Section 48 of the Law Reform Act to entertain the petition for divorce and consequently the power to grant it. Thus, this means that the petition John succeed to file petition for divorce in Malaysia High Court, because he already give the oath that he want to make Malaysia as his domicile of choice, and it is bigger than proving he want to abandon his domicile British. Okay, right. And those things are two different things. Okay, alright. Thus, in this case, it shows that the petition or any other person who wish to apply this law need to prove his or her domicile is in Malaysia. So, if you a Malaysian who live in another country, married an Englishman from UK, you need to prove that you are Malaysian, and when that you need to prove you are Malaysian so that you can help you can so that you can file for petition of divorce in Malaysia High Court. Right, next we go to another section in Law Reform Act 1976. Alright, there are also, however, under Section 3, Clause 3, it is stated that this act shall not apply to a Muslim, which means this act is for non-Muslim. Alright, continuing. This act shall not apply to a Muslim or to any person who is married under Islamic law, and no marriage of one of the parties which professes the religion of Islam shall be solemnized or registered under this act, which means that this act is only for non-Muslims. Okay, and because Muslims have their own law, follows their own law under the Sharia jurisdiction, the Sharia court's jurisdiction. Okay. Um, and this act also cannot be applied to the native of Sabah and Sarawak of or any aborigine of Peninsular Malaysia whose marriage, underlining whose marriage, which means that where their marriage is governed by the native law as stated under Section 3 Clause 4 of the Law Reform Act 1976. But if their marriage is under LRA 1976, then this act can be applied. But if you are married under the native law, you cannot apply this act. And if you are married under Muslims law, you cannot apply this act. Alright. Besides that, according to Section 49, Clause 1 of the Law Reformation Act, notwithstanding any that are contrary to Section 48, Clause 1, Clause C, the court shall have the jurisdiction to entertain proceedings by a wife under this part, although the husband is not under this part, although the husband is not domiciled or resident in Malaysia, if in um, Section 49, Clause 1, Clause A, if the wife has been deserted by the husband leave her, or the husband has been deported from Malaysia under any law for the time being enforced relating to deportation of persons, and the husband was before the desertion or deportation domicile in Malaysia, which means that the husband original domicile or domicile of choice is in Malaysia. Alright, okay. And next, B, the wife is resident in Malaysia and has been ordinarily resident in Malaysia for a period of 2 years immediately preceding the commencement of the proceedings, which means that Malaysia court can entertain this case under these special circumstances where first, a woman that has been deserted by her husband, or the husband is deported, or um, or mm, or her husband has been deported and the husband domicile is before the deportation is Malaysia, then you can use this act. You can use this law. And if the woman, the wife is the wife is resident in Malaysia. Her residency is in Malaysia and has been ordinarily resident in Malaysia for a period of 2 years, at least 2 years, then this act can be applicable. Okay, so in conclusion, Malaysia's court also has the Malaysia court has the jurisdiction to entertain case related to domicile, even though the petitioner even though the petitioner married to another resident. Although there are not although there are not many cases of domicile that occurred in Malaysia, but yeah, some case occurred in Malaysia, right? So I think that's all from me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.